Welcome back to Chamber Exchange, a TV show. I want to thank our sponsors, Bank Hometown and St. Vincent Hospital, for helping make the show happen. I'm pleased to have with us in our second segment Al Vuona, who's the underwriting manager and host of WICN 90.5 FM. Al, welcome back.
Thanks, Tim. I know, huh?
I know.
Right? I don't often get asked back to come in things, so this is nice.
Yeah, well, we want to welcome you back. Certainly when people talk about some of the economic development momentum that has taken place and really grown in Worcester and Central Mass over the last 20 years. Our arts and cultural assets have played, in organizations and institutions, have played a huge role in that. And sometimes when there's conversations around economic development are an undervalued asset and appreciation. And in that regard, WICN features local artists, exactly, regional artists, national artists. And so maybe you could just give a little background for somebody who's not familiar with WICN 90.5 FM and the station, its mission, and then we can get into some of the stuff that you're doing.
First and foremost, we're a nonprofit public radio station. What does that mean? That means we don't derive big corporate money. We don't have advertisers. We have what's called underwriters. But what's been the mainstay for WICN for over 50 years, which I think is a milestone for almost any organization nowadays, is the fact that we have, as you said, we've become a part of the fabric, right, of the community, not only the heart of Worcester, but New England in general, a cultural institution, not only a radio station or a talk radio station, but one that has reached out to various events, right, various entities, with a very stable audience. That's the key. That's the key. Over 50,000 people tune in on average 9.5 hours a week, which is, that's, there's right, 72 hours in an average 2 days. That's a big plus. That means people like the station, they become members, so there's a commitment, right, financially as well as they're tuning in. And underwriters, people that partner with us, realize that, for years after years after years, WICN has been able to maintain 50,000+ people, right, who not only listen to the shows, but come to the events. So that might be a good place to partner with.
Right.
And that's been the hallmark and the thing that's kept the station going.
Right. And anchored an anchor in the Printers Building on Portland, yep, Street downtown. Yep. A beautiful studio, yeah, event, yeah, space, kind of right behind the yeah, Hanover Theater. Yeah. So physically a great location, right, but getting the word out and having that stable base. In the media, TV, and radio industry, they're constantly measuring through third parties, exactly, how many people are listening. And, right, and in the radio space, it's Arbitron ratings.
Exactly.
And it's my understanding some Arbitron ratings recently came out, which were a good sign at WICN and where you're going.
Yeah, we were really pleased. Coming out of COVID, nobody knows where they were going to be a year, 2 years down the road. And I think many people are still on the sideline wondering. The Arbitron came out around November, just before the holidays, yeah, of last year, and WICN saw a significant increase in listenership. In other words, people tuning in. Right. And that means not only our regular listeners, but new listeners. People found the station, people found the station interesting, and they've decided to hang in there. And that's a big plus, right, because when we go out into the community, talking to anybody, whether it's as an underwriter or an act that wants to be promoted, or any show that we're trying to promote, it's important to have that audience. You got to have that marketplace, yep, right? Yep. And we were very fortunate. But I go back to a few key points, if I may. One is this is not a big corporate, this is a singular organization. Right. Every single host, whether it's talk or radio, are really curators of what they do. So if the jazz guys come in, not only are they well-versed in jazz, many of them are musicians, right, they pick their own music daily, they take requests. When you and I grew up, right?
You could call in, yeah.
You can still do that with us.
Right.
And that's, I think that brings home...
There's a connection.
Exactly. Yeah. People say, there's plenty of media out there, but I want that one that makes me feel that they've got my song in mind. They understand what I like. In addition to that, and you and I talked a little bit before that, we keep adding new shows. Classical was a part of WICN's format years ago, and then we saw it wane off. This year, there's been demand. So, rather than just sit in the sidelines, we decided, as we always do, to be proactive, and we've got a new classical show started now for those people who love classical music. 25 years ago, you couldn't get me to listen to a classical.
Right.
Now I listen, I'm going, wow, this is wonderful
Right,
stuff. There's two gentlemen that do a show featuring South African music. People say, why would you do that? Because look at the diversity of Worcester alone.
Right.
There's a need, there's a market, and WICN has not had to go through the layers of corporate
Sign-offs
exactly.
and approvals. You can make decisions.
Exactly.
Be nimble.
We sit down as a staff and say, this is important. People want this. What do you think? And then we start feeling out who might be best qualified for that. And lo and behold, we've got that in place as well. So
Right.
that's
So
been
if someone
part
would
of it.
turn on in the morning and listen through the course of the day, and I want to just ask you this question before we get into some of the exciting partnerships you've established.
Yep.
What might they hear? I mean, there's a little bit of news. There's
Yep.
different. You mentioned hosts of shows.
Yep.
A range of music.
Starting on mornings, our own Michelle Wilson has a great show. She's developed a real great rapport. That's from 6 until 9 a.m. Okay, so Michelle is playing all kinds of jazz and popular music in that genre. But not only that, but she's also talking about the artist. Many times, because she's a musician herself, she's kind of rubbed shoulders with some of these
Right.
people. It's like, where do you get that anymore? That's followed by another live radio show, another jazz show. Again, these people are either well versed in music, musicians themselves. The breaks are very limited. That's another thing I wanted to mention. They're 30 seconds long on average, maybe one every hour. So that if Tim Murray wants to have a piece or a segment on the radio, you'll not be squeezed in with 5 or 6 others in a matter of 3 minutes. People love that, Tim.
Yeah.
Get back to the music. Get back to the talk, you
Right,
guys.
right.
We've been able to do that because there's no dictum coming from,
Corporate
exactly
headquarters in some other part of the country.
And I don't mean to begrudge anybody. I mean,
Right.
they serve a huge purpose. Their resources enable them to do many things. We wanted to reach out to the New England audience first and foremost, and we think we've cut our niche. Very important in anything you do, find the niche, and I think we've got that niche carved.
So that's a good segue. You mentioned kind of the New England area. You've
Yep.
built some partners with some well-known and popular
Yeah,
venues.
yeah.
The Newport Jazz Fest,
Yep.
the Box Center in Boston,
Yep.
obviously the Hanover
Hanover.
Theater across the street,
Mechanics
and the
Hall.
Mechanics Hall down the
Yep.
street. So
Yep.
how are you working with those kind of iconic institutions that do such a great job in kind of promoting artists?
Many have acts. I'm not saying that, let's say Hanover does 20 shows this year. Maybe not every one of them falls under the purview of what our audience would find appealing. Many do. So we'll sit down with them and we'll talk about 2 ways we can approach it. One, do underwriting spots and support them with on-air spots, digital spots. Many times there'll be an exchange tickets that we'll use during fund drives. Which creates interest as well. But the thing is, they know that the audience of WICN skews about 35 to 55, highly educated,
Right.
very affluent, likely to go to the Hanover, likely to go to Tanglewood, likely to go down to Newport and watch these acts.
Right.
Okay, that's first and foremost. It's not for everybody, but we realize that there's a huge segment out there that says, hey,
Right.
this is what we like, so
Right.
keep it going. But again, to your question, these organizations feel that they're partnering with a platform that gets the word out, first and foremost, to the desired audience that they're looking for. And in turn, I got to say, I think we're doing the right thing because if we keep sitting down
Right.
with them year after year.
They want to
yeah.
continue it.
Yeah,
So we got
exactly.
about a minute left. So in addition to 90.5 FM
Yep.
to be able to listen to, in the digital age, people can access via their phones and the
Exactly.
internet, et cetera. And then also you have a weekly newsletter with subscribers. So
Yep.
people want to learn more, contact you. How do they do that? Al?
WICN.org, that's our website. That's usually the best way of doing it. The main phone number at the station is 508-752-0700. They can ask for me, Al Vuona, David Ginsberg, our general manager. The staff are very friendly.
Yeah.
You've met many of them. But the other thing I also wanted to mention is that the idea that we get back to you right away. We'll sit with you, welcome you to come into the station, find out what you need. It's not like you have to buy so many spots. What you need, we'll work with you. That's another key part of WICN. There's no agenda based on a corporate entity. It's what's good for Tim Murray may not be good for the next underwriter,
Right.
and vice versa. So it goes both ways.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and
Yep.
YouTube as well, WICN.org. Al,
And
great.
one other thing I just want to mention, we do reach people say, oh, is it just Worcester?
Oh, yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got calls from Arkansas, from California every single day. So.
Power of a digital age, right? Well, good stuff. Hey, Al, great to have you back as
you.
well. Great to hear that things are going well and
Very good, thank you.
opportunities to help promote our businesses,
Thank you.
cross-promote.
You and the Chamber, you always been a partner with us, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, good stuff. Come back with our final segment. We're going to talk about the Red Cross of Central Mass and the great work they're doing here locally.
These days, you've got your hands full in life. That's why we help you bank simply and securely with tools like Face ID and Touch ID. It's why we make it easy to make purchases on the go and get cash back while you're at it. Why we help you quickly deposit checks wherever you are. And it's why we lend a hand with sending and receiving money right from your phone. So even when you're on the move, you can manage your finances. Bank Hometown. Unlock your potential.
Worcester, a city with heart, history, and promise. A hub of innovation in life sciences, education, and healthcare. Home to multi-generational families, first-generation citizens, and next-generation baseball and hockey greats. Home to great parks, world-class museums, theaters, and restaurants. Worcester, the place to visit, to invest, and to call home.